Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA. Today we're out here in Illinois. It's our pleasure to get to shoot with the Roadster Shop. I've got one of the brothers here, Jeremy. If you're not familiar with the Roadster Shop, dig into them because these guys are one of the top builders in our industry by far. Not to mention your whole chassis business. I mean, you guys have become a dominant force, I would have to say, in the business of building chassis.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked hard at it, man. Just, never sacrificing the quality. It's not always the cheapest, but it's we like to think it's the best.
Yeah. By the way, I know some of you guys are going to lose your mind. The G-body purists, I know they freak out that the six-cylinder's gone, the single turbo's gone.
Yep, we got to cover up that 8. You'll see that little 8 logo pop up, but
you're not doing a restored concourse perfect
exactly
GN, you know what I mean? This is like, let's do a Roadster Shop trip to it.
I mean, we definitely let the car be the car. I mean, we paid respect to what the Grand National is. It just happens to have a twin turbo LS in it, but visually it very much looks stock GN, just a little bit cooler.
It does, except for the one thing, obviously, that stands out right away is that you flared it.
Yep.
Which I like, because I've seen modified Grand Nationals or T-types or what have you, and I can't think of one that I've seen that's flared.
I've never seen one flared. The car naturally calls for it, right? It's got those chiseled in lines. It's got some kind of little soft flares on it already. And then the GNX, it has larger flares, but they don't really correspond with the tire at all. Their flares there, but it's almost like a bushwhacker off-road flare. To me, I always thought this car needed you wanted that BMW kind of wheel fitment, like very Euro looking, where you've really got the sidewall planted on that wheel lip. And the only way to accomplish that is to play with the wheel openings. So if you're gonna do that, why not bump them out a little bit and just kind of exaggerate the car ever so slightly. So we scanned the car, we had it in CAD and instantly put the flares on it. And then the wheel openings raise a little bit and it just instantly reminds you of seeing all that vintage livery on those NASCARs of that era. And it just looked rad. So after that, we're like, dude, this is what we're doing.
Was it your customer that originally wanted to do a Grand National?
It was, believe it or not. I've never been a G-body guy. I think it's just because there was a dude in high school that had one. I had a 69 Camaro and he had an 87 Monte Carlo. I was in a different era back then. And it just always stood out to me that I was like, there's some animosity or rivalry. So I don't know, I think that stuck with me, but it's cool to do something different outside of a 69 Camaro or a C10. The 80s stuff's rad, so somebody's got to get them rolling.
Well, since you mentioned that it does have a twin turbo LS, let's pop the hood and holy cow, dude.
Got a neat looking theme. We tried to keep it in kind of an 80s vibe, so that super monochromatic look seemed appropriate. The motor is done by Wegner Motorsports.
Oh yeah.
Casey Wegner, good buddy of mine. He put it together, and it's a 427 LS7 dart block. And then it's a Sean's custom alloy intake and valve covers. So all billet stuff, machine dudes out of Australia does some super rad work. The motor made, on Casey's dyno, made about 1,600 horse at the crank. And we're getting a little north of 1,200 on dyno, and that's on ethanol.
Oh my God, it's so outrageous that you're making that much power with the thing.
Dude, it is crazy. The turbos just make it so reliable and mild, you know? I've driven this car a ton, man, and you just don't feel like you're in a big horsepower car. It does nothing quirky. It's as civilized as this car was when it's stock.
Wild. I'm gonna just turn you loose.
I'll take you at the front and we'll roll back.
I love it. That's perfect.
So it's an air-to-air intercooler, big C&R intercooler on it. Precision turbos, 66 mil twin turbos on it. We fabbed the whole turbo kit, the manifolds, the downpipes, and then it's all an Inconel wrap. So it's a Bowler transmission. So it's a 4L80, but it's a manual valve body. Having a manual valve body in it, you have to actually shift the gears, but I mean, it's instantaneous. So you really feel like you're in control of the car.
You're engaged in the car. You're not just holding the wheel and driving down the road.
Chromoly drive shaft. We do a 9-inch independent rear suspension. So that's, certainly don't want to overlook the fact it's a Roadster Shop fast track chassis.
I mean, you got to know I was going to ask.
So we're getting there.
We all assume that it is.
So the chassis, realistically, I mean, it's very much our stock off-the-shelf fast track independent rear chassis. We played a little bit with the anti-squat on the rear suspension so we can dial it in. We do plan on taking this car to the drag strip, and independent rear car is not typically known for, launch characteristics. To have some tunability into that, something that we deviated a little bit from stock. But besides that, I mean, the front suspension, it is exactly what you get when you order a Roadster Shop chassis. The frame itself, for all intensive purposes, this is a Roadster Shop production frame underneath it. Big Bayer brakes, 14-inch 6-piston, they're Bayer Extremes. It's got our proprietary valving and some Fox triple adjustable coilovers.
Yesterday you were telling me how, like, yeah, if you stab the throttle, obviously it's gonna go ballistic on you, but if you're rolling into it, like it's a normal driving car almost.
Other than like it making cool turbo noises, you would have no idea. You put your foot in it, it's going to shock you because it goes like you can't move. But it's so, man, it's so civilized. I think that's the coolest thing about it because it's such a usable car. It's like everything wrapped in one. It's a drag car, it's a sports car, it's a luxury car. It's
cool, man.
It's kind of neat.
This stands out to me. It's something I've seen more and more of lately, keeping kind of an OE look. Is that the intent of that versus like a, you know, something that's fabricated and really trick looking?
It is to some extent. I mean, part of it is that some of these things we just embrace good functioning parts. I mean, there's some great aftermarket brake brands out there, but that 9-inch dual diaphragm GM booster with the Master, nothing works like it. Sometimes it's function over form.
There's things about this car that you've done to keep it almost looking original. Like it looks far from original, but you know what I mean.
That's kind of the theme with it. Like most people, I feel like, look at a lot of the stuff we've done lately, they'll walk past it because it's stock, which I kind of like that almost because it means if you like a Grand National, you should like this car. It's not overly modified to where it loses its personality and it's no longer identifiable. The hood actually, again, when you start talking about like the heat, you're fighting a battle against heat mitigation. And some of the stuff ends up just looking cool, like out of necessity. So all this is a DEI heat shield. We started with that, insulated the hood. We got the car out on the street. It would start radiating some heat through the firewall after being in the car for an hour or two. It's a car you're gonna drive. So we cut those vents. Chris designed them up here. We CNC'd them, cut them into the factory hood. I'll bet you it reduced the heat under hood by 70%. You know, you just see it rising out of there.
Wow.
The interior of the car is cool as can be. So it worked really well.
That's great, man. Plus, you're right.
And it kind of looks cool.
I mean, honestly, I'm always for function over form. I mean, you want it to look good, right? But if you actually like to drive your car, you got to be focusing on the functionality.
Absolutely.
You have to, man. I mean, even like the way this is all loomed, and it's funny because obviously that doesn't look like it's an OE setup, but so much of your engine bay really does look like it's factory.
Yeah, we tried to keep kind of a factory look without getting like crazy with plastic shrouding and all that because the 80s era is tough. To me, it's like, dude, if you were building this in a video game in the 80s, like that's what I'd have done. Right? But it's all Cerakoted, so every piece on it, it's Wagner's serpentine drive. Every single component needs to be prepped, bead blasted, Cerakoted, baked, and makes for a cool look.
Are these still original?
Those are fabricated. So from the factory, there's like zero room to lower the car and almost no room for additional tire clearance. Those are raised, they're widened. We've got a 295, 35 on the front of the car. So a pretty fat tire, which guys typically build more as drag cars, so a little skinnier 100%. Tire. It adds to that kind of menacing look when you see that fat front tire in there.
Oh, couldn't agree more. I love this. It's so funny. See, I didn't get to see this car up close at SEMA, but now seeing how you carried this everywhere. That's an 8?
That's an 8, yeah. Believe it or not, I never even knew on the factory one that was a 6, right? Because I'm not a big GN guy, you know? But we're looking at it, it made perfect sense. One of the guys here, actually, I don't know if it was Josh or Chris or somebody was looking at it and came up with that, and it's just so rad.
It's so period correct to this car, man. Tell me about the wheel tire setup on it.
So the wheels, we typically work with Jesse Greening at Greening Auto Company on any of our custom wheels. So that GN wheel, I mean, it's so identifiable. So we kicked it off to Jesse. He actually did the design work and machined them. So it's a 3-piece wheel, uses a step lip, so it kind of shrinks down the diameter because it's an 18-19 setup. A lot of guys have a tendency of just going too big. The proportions start looking weird. So that step lip kind of brings an 18 almost down to a 17. And it makes it look more proportionate.
I mean, it really does look like a 17 up there.
Jesse killed it on those. I think advanced plating, did all the chrome plating on them, so it's a brushed chrome. So it looks very much like the original wheel. I mean, we went back and forth a little bit playing with the windows on them to get them exactly where it looked the part. The center caps, he did those as well, and then we flood filled them and epoxied them here, so it carries that twin turbo 8 look through that you see kind of pop up here and there throughout the car.
So what sizes are they?
So the front's 295/35 on an 18, and then the back is a 345 30 on a 19. They're Michelin Pilot Sports up front. We've got a Nitto NT 555 on the back, so a little stickier, kind of a drag radial, which for this particular car, like, it sees pretty much nothing but abuse. So
yeah,
we just leave those on there, you know, and you cycle through them a little quicker, but it makes a big difference in how the car sticks and hooks. The tire fitment, that was everything on this car. The whole entire car was designed around wheels and tires and making sure that we had that like flush look in the back. These Grand Nationals, you know, they've got that little flare on them, but they've got such a fat outer wheelhouse in them. When you lower them, the tire ends up so far inboard, and it almost looks like a Winnebago. You know, it looks like an RV. You got these tires like super far in. You can get wide tires, but it makes the car look funky.
Yeah.
And even if you trim that out, the height of that actual flare isn't high enough for any sort of wheel travel. But this gets about 4 inches of wheel travel in the back. But to be able to package it like that, it had to be an independent rear because it's got a negative camber curve in it. That exact radius on that wheel flare coincides with the camber curve when the wheel goes into compression or roll. I mean, sure, you could accomplish that just by doing it by hand, but every single thing on this car was designed in-house on SolidWorks, and Mike O'Brien, our lead engineer, was like absolutely instrumental in this. So before this car was ever even disassembled, we scanned every inch of it, laser cut 10 gauge steel bucks for all these flares. Every component under the hood was already designed, radiator sourced, brackets already pre-made, inner fenders kind of laid out, so you know exactly.
You guys really are engineering before you're...
Absolutely. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of hours of engineering just in the vehicle itself. Forget about the chassis, you know.
Yeah. More of the builders, I think, need to do this approach, which is engineer it before.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, dude, GM doesn't build a car before it's all been completely engineered.
Exactly.
And everything's been thought through before you start actually.
Yeah. You see it more and more. You are seeing a lot of guys going that route. We've done some work with the Ring brothers, and I think 99% of their car is done in CAD.
Yeah.
Item,
I agree. Like I have seen more and more guys doing it that way, and less, as Sean Smith always says, sketching in metal, you know?
Yep. You're able to really manipulate something in SolidWorks and look at it from different angles, different perspectives. So I had a very good visual on what these flares would look like. I mean, there's some things that only the eye and actually seeing it you need to use. So like how you tuck them and blend them back into the lower portion of the quarter. You sometimes just got to do it the old-fashioned way.
So is there other body mods besides the obvious flares?
Not really. I mean, a couple little ones here and there. We made some lower spoilers on it just out of necessity because they're kind of a plasticky 80s part. We tweaked those a little bit because there's a big trans cooler that sits right in the middle, so it's ducted up and they kind of terminate right where that begins. We took the same philosophy of slightly exaggerated flares and did it on the spoiler. Yeah. So that's all 3D printed. Chris Gray designed all that, and it kind of has like that wind-blown look, you know, like almost like you just grabbed it and it was stretched out.
Yeah.
If you didn't really know a GN, you'd have no idea that that's tweaked. Nope. To me, it just looks kind of right.
It looks really right. It really does. Very subtle.
Certain things, you know, we've built some wild cars, and we certainly had the budget and could have on this. Like, you can make some crazy billet exhaust tips and incorporate them, but honestly, like this era, a little notch in the bumper and a good old-fashioned slash-cut stainless tip, it just fits the bill to me. You know,
it really looks right.
I feel like sometimes some restraint is needed because you could have done 100%. Something crazy there, but that just seemed appropriate.
That's the other one for me is when do you pull the reins, right? Because nowadays you really can do anything you want with 3D printing and all the different modern amenities that are available to us. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. Seriously, dude.
Yeah. A lot of it goes with what's going to be the usage of the car. So for this particular customer, I think this is about the third or fourth car we've done for him, and great guy, good friend. He drives the shit out of them. So there's no value to him in like remaking that whole bumper to tuck it in 1/4 of an inch. You know?
Stock fitment of the bumper.
Yeah.
I love it.
When this thing's blowing you through the back of the seat and you're smiling ear to ear,
you don't
really don't care
about that, right? So interior on this, I hadn't even looked and noticed the cage because it's so subtly tucked away in here. Is the whole car caged all the way through?
Basically what you see, I mean, I guess you'd call that a 6-point cage. It's just more, you know, the roll bar hoop and then the down bars in the back and then these kind of low profile door bars, which the down bars are nice because it does add some structure into the car when you're trying to plant it with that kind of power.
Don't take it as a knock, but it almost looks like a stock Grand National interior.
So that's probably the biggest talking point on this car because most people have no idea whatsoever that That entire dash in this car is handmade.
This whole dash?
Yeah. Jeremy Katz at JK Auto Design, he did it. These have that, that kind of crappy vinyl around them with the fake stitching.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, just wrap it, he upholds a certain level of quality, and he's like, man, I can't wrap these factory parts. Do whatever you got to do, right? So every single piece is designed to be disassembled into small parts and pieces so that he can leather wrap everything on it.
I mean, even sorry to say, but the crappy looking vents.
Yeah,
they look like cheap
right.
shit plastic vents. That's perfect for mid-80s, man.
And the door panels are the same thing. I mean, this entire upper portion is a machine piece, little 3D printed components throughout the rest of it. Most people look at this and they think it's a stock door panel, but put it next to a stock door panel and you'll realize the subtle modifications, to get some massive component speakers in there. That's all kind of blended into it as well, and pre-engineered. Yeah. These are actually machine parts that are chrome plated. We do a cool little vinyl insert, and it's super serviceable. Like, you don't have to yank clips off to get this door panel off the car. It's all either hidden fasteners, magnets. This door panel come off the car in minutes. The seats, again, they look so similar to stock, but that's a Recaro seat that's been totally reupholstered, and then the 8 carries over that's been kind of CNC embroidered in the headrests. It makes the driving experience so much better because you really planned it in the car. The seats are moved down and they're moved back a few inches.
Yeah.
So that the ergonomics are tweaked. The column's been slightly positioned in the car as well. With that kind of power, the last thing you want to do is feel out of place in the car.
Oh, dude, 100%. The only thing that stands out as obvious that this wasn't stock is
the
whole shifter setup.
So the GN never had the lightning rods in it. I think it came in like the 442 or some of those other Olds or Buicks, but it just, again, seems so appropriate for the era and the driving experience. We used them in a few other cars, and it's really, really fun to drive when you've got a manual
I've never driven with one of these. I've been in a car where the guy was shifting, but
it's pretty cool. Makes the car fun to drive, fits the theme. We did a little light up illuminated call out so you kind of know what gear it's in, what they do. Key that on. We'll watch this digital display kind of come on here.
Oh, killer. Oh my God. Dude, it's like a friggin' video game in here, man. This
exactly.
But that's so 80s. Like, that looks like Kit,
it is,
right?
And it's my era, so it was really fun to do. I mean, just like you said, a lot of it came from video games that you saw in the 80s and 90s. 80s Blazers and C4 Corvettes had a lot of that digital dash stuff. It just wasn't as vibrant and functional as this. This is a whole kit that we've developed. Took us several years to do it. We're actually looking at crossing the finish line to offer it as a product. So it's an entire vehicle infotainment and wiring system. So that center stack in the middle, that can toggle through as many screens as you want, and it controls every function of the car. So everything you see there, you can put the vehicle in race mode and it'll automatically engage the trans brake, the line lock, traction control, launch control, toggle through screens to get to the AC controls, the stereo control, exhaust controls, and it's kind of infinite, all off a PDM system. So anything you want to wire into it that's CAN based, you can control, or there's ways of controlling it if it's not CAN based.
Never seen anything like that before.
The wheel in the center, that also helps you if you turn it and then swipe over the screen like an iPhone. Yeah, so now you've just put it in race mode. So now everything's active, and now if you swipe it left to right, it'll change screens. Now you're in your settings.
You gotta be kidding me, dude.
And you swipe the other direction and keep going, it'll put you in your AC, your climate controls. And then one more, it'll get you to your audio.
You've got to be kidding me. This is all proprietary to you guys?
Yeah, it took a tremendous amount of effort to get that to the stage it's at, and it's pretty much at the finish line now.
I have never seen anything as trick as this. I mean, you'll see this in modern luxury brand vehicles, right? But this isn't something I've ever seen on a custom shop.
It really hasn't been done. I mean, there's some great digital dashboards and things like that, but the whole vehicle kind of integration really hasn't been done to this level. I mean, there's some stuff like Motec systems and things that are really complex and incredibly expensive. You really, really got to know what you're doing or have the right guy, and there's very few people that can do it. This is meant to be more of a plug and play system, so you'll wire your entire car with this, any GM ECU, Holley ECU, all your popular stuff. So,
God, dude.
But it's also just super fucking rad to drive. I mean, you know, when you're at night, when you're looking at
it's
that.
It's kind of like bitching at night,
feel
all
like you're
lit
in
up
the Night
here.
Rider.
Yeah, totally, man. I even like this, like horsepower select. So by twisting this,
the vehicle has to be off to switch maps, but that works through. It is a Holley ECU on it, and that goes in stages. I think we started an 1100 horse tune, and you've got 4 tunes that take you up to 1600.
So 1100's your mild.
1100,
that's as chill as this car's getting on
yeah,
you.
1100 is mild, and it's got a flex fuel sensor in the fuel system. So at 1100, you can run it on pump gas. The vehicle will take care of all that for you. When you go to 1600, you've got to be, you know, running ethanol at that point. That's kind of what the tunes are based off of.
Yeah, dude, I'm so floored by this car. I knew it was going to be good. Gotta admit.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be that kind of good.
Nice.
I mean, that by far is the most intense system I've ever seen.
That's what makes the car just super fun to drive. To me, it's the experience of, you want the car to be super cool when you're in it. You know,
yeah.
None of the other stuff matters when you're inside, and that's where you spend all your time. That experience should be really, really bitching for the driver. You know,
I couldn't agree more. I am floored, dude.
And it's kind of loaded with all that stuff, like even the back seat with these monster tubs in the back. It had to be carried forward a little bit, but ergonomically, you know, kind of worked out to where that all fits and it sits nice. There's big 10-inch subwoofers built into boxes that are in the quarter trim areas. One of the nice things about these 80s cars is like the lack of any thought process in manufacturing the cars.
Yeah.
So there's a giant void in there, which lends itself really
Makes
well
it less
putting some big speakers.
Well, dude, why don't we'll throw some cameras in, go for a little drive, and
let's do it.
See what this thing's about.
Absolutely, man. I'm stoked to get you behind the wheel and take you for a spin.
I'm excited about this one. You guys, let's do it. You gotta know I'm gonna go real light on any throttle input. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But it's pretty predictable. I mean, the car won't do anything that's like silly, you know?
Dude, that's so cool.
To me, on an auto with some horsepower, it's the most fun you can have.
I'll see comments in any video where the car is an automatic. Really cool car. Why did the guy make it an automatic?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I think it's fun to row gears and stuff, you know what I mean? But I don't know, when cars are making 1,000 horsepower, I think I'd rather have both hands on the wheel.
You gotta have some pretty quick reactions, you know? So for me, I love like a manual car. I mean, almost everything I've ever owned is a 6-speed, but you get to this level of power and man, you can't beat that.
And like you said, I mean, with having, what do you call this again?
So it's like a lightning rod.
Lightning
shifter.
rod, that's right, yeah. I mean, to have that setup it's fun because you are going to have to engage with the car.
Yep.
Given that it's a manual valve, you know, but you're right. The car, now granted, I'm giving it all of about 4% throttle input, but like the car doesn't feel like a 1,600 horsepower car.
And the throttle's like very linear. I mean, you roll into it, it's not like it's gonna all of a sudden break the tires loose or do something freaky. You'll know when you're gonna get into the boost. You know?
Yeah. This steering wheel, I forgot to ask you when we were shooting about the interior, because it looks stock. Obviously, it's not a stock wheel.
So the frame of the wheel's stock. It's just been rewrapped and hand stitched in leather.
Oh.
And then the center cap is laser etched here with that same little 8
But the
logo
rest
in
of the
it.
wheel is a stock.
It is, yep.
So now if I go up here, that throws me back down to 3rd gear.
Yep. So now you get up in the RPMs, it's ready to rip, you know?
Got it, yeah.
That's probably like the most aggressive thing about the car is that it's firm, you know, the shifts. If you want something that's gonna shift nice and smooth, it's not that.
That's not it,
Not when you got a manual valve body. It's designed to, you'll see when you're in the power, I mean, it is bam, bam, bam.
Yeah. I gotta say, any of the Buick G-body guys that get mad at this car, they're not paying attention because you guys have paid so much homage to the original car. Yes, you've done radical things, twin turbo LS. It's, you know, there's mechanical things, but you guys didn't throw away the Grand National and just keep the skeleton of it. You know, you really paid homage to. I mean, even the way the numbers look, all your graphics in here look original to the car.
It all looks, if it's not original to the car, it looks like it's original to the era of the car.
It does. It totally does. Dude, this is so fun shifting these things.
And when you're in the throttle, like as you're staying in the throttle and you shift it, it really goes like better. Like it shifts smoother. See?
Oh yeah.
It likes being shifted under load.
Yeah. Wow. But you're right. I mean, the way this car sits and feels on the road, like you actually could drive this car all day long.
100%, man. The way it soaks things up in the road is, to me, that stands out more than all the power. The way it just eats everything up and how civilized it is on the ride quality is cool.
And then there's all that power there. And I mean, you know how mild I'm driving this car right now, bro.
Yeah, you're just barely getting into the boost there.
I just noticed, right? Like your levers over here for turn signal and everything.
Sure.
Is this still original?
That still is, yeah.
You haven't like remachined anything, or?
Now some of that was like, again, it's like, what are you going to gain out of it, right? We could do it, certainly, but GM columns compared to, nothing against the aftermarket columns, but a factory GM column and its functions honestly work a little bit better.
Yeah.
So sometimes just leaving that stuff alone is all right.
Well, I can't get over the sound of this car, how I cannot believe I'm in this car right now, dude. I'm kind of...
So the sound too, I mean, here, let me loosen up a bit here, but you can take this thing in the vehicle settings and we can open
Holy cow.
that exhaust, which sounds cool. I mean, I don't know if that messes with the cameras or... It's a little more radical.
That's a little more rowdy.
But you hear the turbos really whistling then.
You really do. Wow. And it's just as simple as that.
Yeah, just hit that and they're boom, closed. So pretty cool.
Man, the owner of this car's
He's pretty stoked with it.
About it. Dude, I'm so blown away. And I know, like, I'm being mild. I'm looking forward to being in the passenger seat. You get on it a little bit.
Sure.
What are the buttons for?
So the buttons, the first one is your trans brake, line lock, and that's your torque converter lock and unlock.
Got it.
For general driving, kind of stay away from them.
Yeah. Wow. I can't believe how docile this car feels. And I know I get it, dude. It's like because I'm being so mild, but that's what I think the genius of what you guys have built here is that if you want to be mild and just go cruise like with your wife or something like that, she doesn't have to prepare for like a holy hell kind of day.
Exactly,
you know?
You don't have to be sweating, you don't have to stink like fuel, it doesn't need to beat the hell out of you.
No. Oh, the sounds. I mean, I don't know. I think the turbo sounds are like some of the coolest.
Yeah, turbo sounds are tough to beat. I mean, like a nasty supercharger, it's a lot more violent, and it sounds cool. You get the blower whine, like even the modern LT motors, but...
They do. You get a lot of whine out of them. The Hellcats, when you...
But hearing those...
Seems like when you re-pulley them, you know?
Hearing those turbos spool, tough to beat.
Such a bitch. And then the blow-off you get. I can see how quickly you're into triple digits. I barely touched it just now in second gear, and it's 75.
You haven't even felt the turbos come on yet.
I know. I can tell. We haven't hit any boost yet. They're spooling, going, "Come on, dude, use us, use us." It's mind-boggling to me how nicely this car sits on the road. It's eating up the bumps. But it's smooth. I mean, you can tell it's stiff, like that it's going to handle, but it's not beating on you. You know, it's really amazingly comfortable. I'm just trying to make my eye keep looking at the road and not looking at these.
And all the cool things going on.
It's so neat. The choices on it, and then it seems like everything actually does function properly.
Yeah, it does, and even the car, like you look at the temp, this car's sitting in 100-degree weather, sitting in traffic, you'll never see that go above 200. Oil temps hang around 213, trans temps are always cool. So everything's got oversized coolers. auxiliary electric fans on all the coolers, so it's designed to drive.
Yeah. It's gotta be fun for you guys, because I'm sure to have cars where you build them and people are out actually driving and enjoying them.
I love it, man, because that's the effort that we put into it, is to drive them. You know, we've built some high-end kind of showy type cars. It's not my passion. I like when I'm at the shop on a Saturday or a Sunday, and Scott, the owner of the car, you see him drive by. You know, he's a local guy, and you see the car cruising by, or I see the road rage driving down the street, and you're also not getting a call from that guy saying, hey, the car's like running hot or it's doing something weird. They're just using it, which sounds stupid to say because it's a car, but it takes a lot to accomplish that when you're building something to this level.
It does, and I think I'm glad you said that, dude, because I've said it before, but I'm not a builder, and I think oftentimes the people that watch our channel don't understand quite what it takes to not only make something look this good, but drive this good.
Yep.
That a guy like me who's far from a pro driver can jump in the seat, and here I am driving the car down the road, shifting the lightning rods, effortless, everything functions, it does what it's supposed to.
To me, if I could put somebody that doesn't have experience with the car behind the wheel without giving them like 15 minutes of instructions, that's the best thing. Turn the key, start it, here's how you shift it, go drive it.
How much time was there from the time you started it to it being a complete car?
I think we probably had about a year and a half in this one. You know, it snowballed like anything. You know, it definitely went above and beyond what the initial scope of work was. But yeah, I don't think it wasn't terribly long. I mean, the upholstery project was a good portion of that time frame, which is a tremendous amount of work in here. So to duplicate this car, I mean, I think that's a pretty accurate time frame.
Yeah, because this interior looks simple.
It does.
Right? It looks almost stock, right? But the reality is, the stuff that's the most simple looking seems to be the hardest stuff to create.
It is. To make things seamlessly blend can be very difficult.
Yeah. I noticed that even with low throttle input, you go to second, it chirps them quickly.
Yeah, the trans is the most aggressive thing on the car, for sure.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude.
It goes up.
Holy shit. Oh my God, that's nasty. But like you said, dude, I gotta admit, it's linear. It's not...
It's not squirrely, you know.
Dude, I thought you were gonna be countering and like spinning tire.
Dude, you get like chills, you get goosebumps in this thing.
I'm too freaked out to get goosebumps right now. Holy crap, is that some acceleration, bro?
Dude, it's like a freight train when it starts going, man. It's cool.
I mean, my head just started, I'm not even kidding, dude. I got a little bit lightheaded, like.
If you're like second gear and you're moving 30, 40 miles an hour, that's a slow roll and then you're in it all the way. First gear, you got to drive it, you know. It'll get a little dicey, but it shoots, it still shoots straight.
Does it really? Yeah.
There's a cop right there too. Good thing we shut her down before we came through the intersection, huh?
Are we okay doing this here, or should we go somewhere else?
I mean, if they don't see you. Who was it that said that? John Milner? You may hear me, you won't see me.
Yeah.
Driving it a little bit that time.
You were driving that. Holy shit, dude. Whoa, bro, this car.
Yeah, that was getting a little more aggressive with it, you know. Still controllable, man, for that kind of power. Like, that's like a violent amount of power. You know, we were tires are probably spinning at what? Many miles an hour, and it's still going
many miles an hour. Perfect description, dude. Nothing incriminating here. We were going a lot of miles an hour.
Several miles an hour.
I mean, I'm not surprised in the slightest, right? I get the horsepower on it, but experiencing it, it is literally take your breath away kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when you drive it like that, you gotta like definitely respect the hell out of the car, you know, because the car's got more in it than I do, you know.
I could tell you're a driver. I mean, the car was wiggling on you, and you were just staying in it and lightly countering, not freaking out. I think that's the worst, is you freak out and
get out of the
correct, and now you cause trouble for yourself.
You get out of the throttle, and then it, you know.
Yeah, now it hooks up and goes where you're pointed, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I got to say. Yeah.
Dude, you could do that all day long. I mean, the thing just is so much fun.
To know that you can build a car that you can make this kind of power, but you can put anyone in it and they can actually drive the car safely.
100%, man, because like, so Scott, the owner, he's got all kinds of really wicked fast stuff, but still, I mean, that's a lot of power for anybody to drive. So you really want the car to be as predictable as it can be and as safe as it can be.
Yeah.
And also, like, to be doing pulls like that, you know, it's not breaking up. It doesn't do anything quirky. It's repetitive.
Yeah.
So the car's never going to surprise you.
Yeah.
You know?
20 plus years of building vehicles. That's why you're able to build something like this.
And you know, like, dude, the brakes are right there when you go to get out of the throttle, you know?
Yeah.
There's no pad knockback. There's nothing like, yeah, you're not nervous. It does what it should do.
Yeah. They'll come back and find us. So we can just head straight back to your shop. Yeah, quiet it down and... Well, you're not kidding about brakes, huh?
Yeah, it's got all the brakes, man. So.
Yeah, good idea. Just get out of here. Son of a bitch, Jeremy.
So it goes.
I forgot that you have a line lock on here and a trans brake and all that shit. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, that was on the launch control there, so that's on the trans brake, which, yeah, probably got a little overzealous, she got a little loose, but makes for a good video, really right?
Good. Exactly.
Well, that was fun, man.
Bro, that was more than fun.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So as you guys can tell, this car seriously gets down, and it's mild enough that I'm able to drive it and enjoy it, but then, you know, the guy that helped to build the car that knows how to drive it, I mean, dude, my head's still kind of spun right now.
Yeah, I'm still like shaking a little. It's so much fucking fun, dude. It's just such a fun car to drive, you know, but just like you said, you can get as crazy with it as you want or as civilized as possible.
Yeah.
Anybody can drive this car, and if you respect it and roll into the boost, you can rip this thing all day long.
Yep, yep. Well, I'll tell you what, you guys, we're going to leave you there. Now, you got to know, we're out here for the weekend, so we're shooting. This is the first of a handful of cars, and I promise you, as good as this one is, it's just going to at least stay as good, possibly get even better.
It may. We've got quite a variety. So this is about as fast and as smoky as we're going to get.
Yeah.
We got some interesting stuff that I'm anxious for you to get behind the wheel of.
Can't wait, man. So, you guys, I'm going to say thanks for hanging, and I'll see you in the next one. Later, man.